Yo, we are back. Okay, why? There! Yay! Okay, welcome! Welcome back. We are here for another happy at home session. My name is Alice Boll and I run the membership group for scrapbookers at scraphappy.org. And we are going to have so much fun today because I've been teasing this one for a little while, right? I've been teasing it. We're going to be talking about stencils today. Now, we've covered a lot of topics in these happy at home series, and we've kind of seen some great ways to use stencils, but I think this is one of the first times that we're gonna really dig in. Oh, okay. I think we're back. That was insanity. Let me explain and then we'll move on. Having internet problems? No, worse than that. Totally different. Okay. Oh my goodness. I was a little stressed there for a second, guys. I'll tell you, I had to go turn the air conditioner on because I was like feeling the heat. Come on, Alice, calm down. I moved the little cord for my laptop to charge and died. Completely died. I'm like had to restart the computer, not once but twice. So, welcome back. Hey everyone. So here we go. Yeah, sometimes things get a little mucked up, but we're back and it's going to be awesome. And how do I know it's going to be awesome? Because today we are talking about stencils. I've been teasing this for a while and I am so happy that we're going to play with these today because I think they are such a fun way and they're actually kind of cheap, right? Compared to a lot of other supplies that we get. They're a really good way to get fun things onto your pages. So super good. Okay, we haven't done this for a few days. Do you guys want to tell me like where you're from again? Because I love seeing how we are all around the world. I am broadcasting here from Whitecourt, Alberta, Canada. That's good. Everybody just assumed it was on their end, right? That's what Chrissy says. I thought it was me. So yeah, looking good. Hot date. Ooh, thanks. I put on a necklace. I actually love jewelry. Like, love jewelry. I have a lot of it and I have been not wearing it. And I'm like, why don't I wear my jewelry anymore? What happened? And it wasn't even just quarantine, because like I could totally blame that on quarantine, like kicking in my PJs, but I just kind of got out of the habit of wearing it and I'm like, it's too pretty to not wear it. So we are back. And we are talking, oh yeah, okay, so we got people from all over. This is so fun. April says, I love stencils, and I have a ton that I kind of have forgotten about. I bet you got some gems in there, April. And Kathy says, Land O'Lakes, Florida. That's where she is. Monica's in Delaware. Felicia's in Sacramento, California. And Kathy says, storming like crazy. Oh my gosh, no, it is nice here, thank goodness, because that would be a whole new level of internet problems that would lead to that. April's in Houston, Texas. Danelle is in North Texas, and Diane's here from Thorn Bay, Alaska. That's so fun. Another Texas gal, Christy. Veronica's here from Bushkill, Pennsylvania. Sally's from Westport, Minnesota. Anna's in No, that's funny. Joyce is in Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tiffany is in St. Louis, Missouri. Is it Louis or St. Louis? Did I say it right or wrong? Go ahead. Feel free to correct me. Dion says, yay, stencils. I love them. Maura says, Lower Laurentians, about an hour north of Montreal in Quebec. And Montreal, sorry, I'm doing it all wrong. I've actually been really brushing up my French lately. So, je peux parler le français un peu. And if I screwed that up, well. Perfect. Deanna's in Mississauga, Ontario. And Nadine says she is still in Red Deer. I love it. So we have people from all over, and this is just super fun. It's just so nice to get together. Oh my gosh. Danielle is here from Germany. We're all around. This is so fun. Okay, enough of that. Let's get playing because there's so many fun ways. So I thought, first of all, I would share the way that I actually store my stencils because they can get a little overwhelming. And you can see, I have a book. Barbara says, howdy from Texas, from Dallas, Texas. We don't speak French down here. No, but you probably have the best accent ever. And I love it. Okay, so here we go. Let me show you my book. And bring that down, and we will actually, I think I'll go straight into the whole desktop. And I'll push that back. I had to rearrange everything here amidst the crisis. And let's get this white balance to like agree with us for a second. Can we just please? So much better. So much better. Okay, awesome. So I have here a binder that I use, and it's not like, obviously it's not in the best condition because like, look at this, the pages are popping out of it. Don't you hate it? It is definitely one of the drawbacks to a 3-ring binder is when they do stuff like this. And of course, like you guys have seen, I have all the dramas while we're on camera. So I separated this into sections, and I have little tabs down the side, and I just stuck the tabs like right on top of the page protectors. And Christy and Barbara are close together, and she says that you should meet up sometime, like after all the stuff, of course, but totally, that's so fun. So I have a section here at the front. It is like my alphas kind of words related stuff. And then the next section I have is about circles. These are a lot of page protectors. If you didn't want to do page protectors for every single one, there's other ways you can store these. I like this because it's easy to flip through the book and see what I have. And you can see, like, I have several circles, but they kind of have different effects to the circles, even though they can look really similar. Sometimes they provide you a different effect on the page, like these ones here being so much closer together than these ones give you a different effect. Sheila says, I keep my stencils in a binder too, and some of them actually have like a bit of an edge along them. You can see some of them are sticking up out of the page protectors. I just don't worry about that, but some of them have that little bit of an edge along them, and I've seen people actually punch holes in that part so that they can clip them together into a binder. Dion says she keeps hers in a binder as well. See, we've got some organized people in the house. April says I cut the top off the packaging and stick the stencils back into those sleeves. So yeah, if you have a system that works, then that is all that matters. If you're like struggling and you're like, oh, I have them all in a pile, and a pile is fine as long as it's a manageable pile. If you can still go through that pile and find what you want really quickly, that's all you need, right? Like, I think sometimes we, as scrapbookers especially, as we start to collect more and more things, we start to, you know, we can overthink the amount of organization that we actually require. If you can find what you need, then you're probably okay. But yeah, this is a really great way. And so you can see some templates I've actually cut myself and I include them in here. And then I have different categories. So geometric ones. I have one for some called swirly because, you know, it's different kinds of swirly things. And what do you do with that, right? Lauren says hers are in her scrap rack, so that's basically like a binder, but like a really cool one. And then I have some like an area for small ones, and I'm thinking that I might reorganize these into the other categories because I'm able to keep them in here. And so I've got a lot of fun stencils. I think what I should be doing is pulling out a couple of them to play with today. What do you think? Yes. It's like, what haven't I played with for a while or yet? Oh, what do I do when I haven't added one to the system yet? I'll show you. I'll show you the very front. I purposely didn't show you that part yet. So in the front of the book, I actually have one page protector. I just stuck. I stick them all in the front when I haven't played with them yet. Ooh, look at this one. Oh, yeah, that looks like a fun one to play with. Ooh, and this sunburst. It's like a twisted sunburst from Catherine Pooler. So many good things. And so one person, who was it? Someone had explained to me the difference between masks and stencils, and I promptly forgot it. So if you know the technical difference between masks and stencils, go ahead and tell us all the good stuff, because it was like one of them you use to cover sections and one you use to expose. Maybe I got it all backwards. Felicia says, I'm going to try the binder. This will work. And yeah, like if they're not kind of separated, they get a little tangled. That's right. Because especially the more detailed they are, and if they have little sections like that are sticking out, kind of like the tip of the word this on here, or the O's and stuff like that. Those little pieces get, when you layer them all together, can you imagine this number one here? When you layer it all together, Kathy says, oh, I have that one. Isn't that fun? When you see stuff and it's like, ooh, how are you using that? Yeah, so there's some pretty fun, I have lots of wonderful stencils. So let's pull out a few of them and play with different ways of using stencils. Oh, maple leaves. I got wood green. Oh, I got some fun glasses in there. Let's pull that out. And sometimes if I'm too lazy to put them back into the right place, they also go into the front. So it's just kind of like the catch-all that lets you kind of keep the system semi in control, even when you don't get to it right away. So I thought that was a good place to start. Plus it gave us a chance to poke through, and oh, I didn't pick any 12 by 12 ones. Maybe I'll do that after. We'll go and grab one as we go. Let's see, can I make this a little bit square with the screen? It's not necessarily square with my desk, so, but it looks so much better when it's square with the screen. Sheila says, I think I donated the clamshell one. Yeah, and like you go through times where you love a certain stencil or you need it for a certain project, and then afterwards you're like, I found something better, or you've moved on from it, and that's totally fine. Like, it's fine to not need, want, or love a supply or a tool forever. And if you still love it, it's fine to keep it forever as well. Like, you know, you're the boss. Be okay with that. So what can you do with stencils? There are so many ways to use your stencils. So I thought we would talk about some of these ways. Those sunglasses would have been useful during Calvin Ball. I know, they're like all kinds of little glasses and stuff, right? Adding the little background into there. Jill was like good at getting some points in the Calvin Ball. She did really good. So first off, you can take pens, markers, crayons, chalks, and you can just put your paper behind and you can kind of color in and fill in the stencils. It's probably how you first got introduced to a stencil, like when you were in elementary school, right? You probably used the stencil and colored it in, and that's totally a legit way to use a stencil. And then, you know, we also have more fun ways to do it too. So I'm not probably going to show that, although you guys saw when we did the Distress Crayon Day that they work kind of just like watercolors, so you could definitely use your Distress crayons like a watercolor to fill these in. These are called Donna's glasses, so I'm thinking this must be a Donna Downey stencil. Let's see. So next up would be like inks, embossing, sprays and mists, so kind of in the ink category. And even amongst there, like there's a lot of ways you can go about it. So you can take an ink pad and bring it direct across the stencil. You can take your ink and use daubers or sponges, right? You can take your ink and you can pull out a brush and brush the stuff. The brush is actually pretty great for working with stencils. I will say that's kind of a great thing. But let's have a look at an example of something that I did with ink. So I made this paper using a 6x8 template. So it was only 6x8, and you might look at that and say, oh, well, you can't do like 12x12 paper with it. Or can you? Because yeah, totally can. Chrissy says those glasses would make a great background in a pale color to use with the reading or book stamps that you used from 3 Room Studio. Oh my gosh. Yes. Right? Do the glasses with my 3 Room Studio book reading stuff. Oh yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Yeah, so with this one, I took my stencil that was not a full sheet. I don't know if I put that one back yet. I did not. It's here. So here's the stencil. It is from scrapbook.com. It is their buffalo check. I really felt that it would be really fun to have a buffalo check print. If you are shopping at scrapbook.com, you can always use my link that I'll put below. So thank you. But they have some fabulous stencils. Actually, a few of those either went into my cart or they went on my wish list so that I can grab them next time. I'm always kind of watching because I'm importing the stuff into Canada. If I keep things under $100 Canadian, I don't have to pay my import fees, so I'm kind of careful. And then sometimes you want so many things, it's just worth paying that. And then you save on the shipping, so it's kind of like this little balancing act. But by using this stencil, I was able to layer it, do the top part, and then move it down, line it up, and do the rest of the image. And I used a few different shades of the ink. And then rather than try to spread this across the whole thing, which I think would have been a challenge because you do have kind of this heavy side along here, I just decided to keep that white line, and then I used my brush actually to brush the same color in the ombre down the page. I can't wait to scrapbook on this. Even though this part looks a little blotchy to me, once I have stuff over top of it, it's gonna look so good. So good. Let's see. Jill says, I recently purchased the Pixie spray. Has anyone else used it? I have not, but that sounds fun. That sounds fun. And I love using spray. So that is like direct using brushes, daubers. I do like to take ink and use it direct on paper sometimes. I think that straight from a thing is good. It's a little more challenging through a template. Like that's not the easiest way to apply it. So having some kind of tool like this that you rub onto your ink pad and smush around on your paper through the stencil. These are great because they're so soft that it's easy to kind of get in the delicate areas of a stencil. Sometimes some of the areas of a stencil are really delicate, right? When you have those little areas that aren't attached, like when we were looking at those ones with the words and part of the letters that aren't attached, kind of like the dangly bits of the stencil. This one doesn't have so many dangly bits, and this one doesn't have a lot. It has a few though, but so if you look here, if you can see that underneath my finger, you can see those little dangly bits. Those are easy to have them move around and stuff. Isn't Pixie spray for adhering your stencil to your project so that it doesn't slide? Somebody can confirm that, but I think you adhere it onto your stencil, stick it down, then it's not going to wiggle around. Is that the Pixie spray? I know I've seen a few different products. It's supposed to hold the stencil in place to avoid getting the medium under the stencil. Yeah, so that'd be pretty cool. I really like to use this purple tape, the purple tape from Thermoweb. That's the stuff that I use now, like before I just use washi tape or whatever. I have a better luck with this not ripping my paper than I did with washi tape, because every once in a while with washi tape that happened. So ink direct to the paper, daubers, brushes, sponges. Another thing that you can do if you're using sticky ink, you can use, I'm trying to see if I have an example of that. I don't. I have. So when you're doing ink, if you're using like a sticky ink, you can use that so that you can use embossing powders with a stencil. So pretty. I don't know that I have an example. We'll see as we go if I happen to come across an example. I don't remember pulling an example that used that. But embossing powder using this, so good. Yeah, Jill, she's like, not all washi tape is created equal. And that is like understatement of the year. Yeah, it's crazy. Christy says the small brushes are great for adding even more color in small spaces. So you can give things some shading. Fancy. I do have a small one that I think I got from my friend Christy. And I don't have it right here, so I'm not sure where I put it. Maybe it ended up in one of my pencil cases when I was traveling. So anyways, inks, super good. I think that one's pretty common. So so that one's a fairly common one. And you can see like another example on this card base that I did here. And this was pretty much just an experiment for me to test the inks, to test the blending, to see how the colors were going to spread together. But, you know, what does a stencil cost? $4, $5, $6, you know, maybe even $10 for one of the 12 by 12 ones, right? But they're not a lot. So if you can get different effects using different products, that can make them fairly versatile and somewhat cost effective. Like, we pay lots of money for everything, let's be real. So I talked about mists and sprays, and I thought this was a fun one to pull out for mists and sprays because this one was done using some spray, and I actually used lots of different sprays to get my rainbowy kind of effect. You guys have seen enough pages probably from me to know that I love making rainbow effects on pages. I really love using bright, bold colors and backgrounds. I'm actually surprised that this one hasn't been used yet. I think, though, that I used the reverse of this one, and I'll show you an example of that. I don't have the reverse of this one pulled, but so here is an example of me spraying using the spray. Why do I still have this up here? Let's put that away. It's in the way. So this is an example of me spraying a template, like a background. Obviously, I've kind of misted some areas. Some areas kind of have a little bit of blend and overspray. If you're doing a project like this, take a scrap piece of paper or something and just you can cover kind of parts of it. But if you cover parts of it, you're going to end up with more solid lines on your project, right? So you can kind of cover maybe the bottom part of this and then just spray this section. This is probably what I would do, right? If you don't want the pink stuff to be spreading to down here, you can cover parts of this once it's on there, on your thing. And for this kind of stuff, when you're using sprays with your stencils, you need either like a box. I actually use my little kitchen sink that I have up here because I just rinse it down when I'm done. But yeah, the little bit of extra, like, it does look really good, right? It looks good when it spreads. It just depends on what kind of effect you're looking at. And this looks like maybe I missed areas, but this is actually like a distressed looking template. Let's just pull it for a second so you can kind of get the full effect. It's like my geometric section. So here is the actual template for this one. So you can see it kind of has that distress effect. And yeah, I did, using the overspray section, you get some of that over spray. It's my... So that was the thing. But one of the cool things that I like to do is, sorry, can't talk right now, son, because I'm busy. And you know that because I've been busy every single day at the same time. Yeah, so with this, one of the funnest things to do is, don't you look at it like, you're like, oh my gosh, I wasted so much of the spray because so much of the spray is sitting on the plastic template at the end. So one of the things I like to do, and sometimes it works better than others, I will confess, like some days it works better, but I take an extra piece of paper, and after I have sprayed to get this paper, I set another piece of paper on top of the stencil because all of that water, like all of the mist or ink from the spray is all pooling on top of the stencil. And this was the background that I got, and you can see it's very imperfect, right? Like it's not the perfect chevron, but you know, this wasn't perfect chevron to start with, but I just love the effect of this. And if you are able to move your stencil and pull this paper out before you do this, right? Like pull that one out from underneath your plastic so that this one isn't going to get damaged in any way. And then you do this. You can always reactivate some of the inky spots or kind of fill in any gaps that are kind of missing on your stencil just by using like a little bit of water to kind of spread it out. But yeah, put it down and use that reverse negative image, I guess. So I think that's just a really fun thing. And we don't always think to do it, right? Like I see a lot of people that don't use that extra ink because it's on the template. That's not the stuff. Yeah, Jill says, it may not be perfect, but it sure is cool looking. And it depends on how you use the paper as to how perfect you really need that paper, like that effect to be. Yeah, I looked at this and I was like, dang, it's almost prettier than the original. I had a hard time deciding which one I was going to use, but I really liked the mess factor in this to go with the theme of this paper. And this one still has that mess factor, so it's not like that really mattered, but yeah, kind of fun. Kind of fun. And then, like, you know, some of the sprays have shine in them, right? You can get the shiny sprays. So this one has like a little glittery effect to it too. So that can give you a different look. Direct, dauber sponges, misses, embossing. So next up I think is paints. And there's lots of different kinds of paints. There's also those Nuvo mousse things that are a little bit like using a paint, a little bit like they're a little textury, I guess. But yeah, you can use different kinds of paints. And I had done this one using some different paints, and you can see I like just alternated the two main colors and did them in sections. And for me, it was a fun background, and I'll add something to it. Lots of times when I'm playing, if I get a new toy, I just want to play with my new toy, but I don't necessarily know what the page is that I'm going to make. But something comes along after and I'm like, ooh, I have that paper. So it's just kind of like putting some pattern paper in your stash, but you've made it yourself. So I think it's really cool. Yeah. So that was just a fun thing, using some different paints. And of course, like this is actually like a matte kind of paint. And this one here is like a shiny iridescent kind of paint. It has like that shine in it. I'll see if I can catch some of the light on there. And you can see like using both of them added a lot of interest while still keeping it very monochromatic, which is kind of fun. And with that whole idea, this was another paint type thing. Here, let me maybe turn it this way. You can kind of maybe see that it has butterfly effect in the background. It's a little tough to see with the stencil. I think it doesn't read butterflies as much as it does when you're actually looking at the stencil. This paint that I used here, this stuff actually has little flakes of glitter in it. And I think that it's fun because it's just that extra little bit of delight that I get when I look at it. It's like, ooh, it's so pretty, because I don't know if you can see up close and actually see the glitter in it. I was hoping that it would focus on that for you, but it does have glitter in it. And since I had to throw out an entire roll of washi because it wouldn't stick to anything, and I really didn't like it, so it didn't bother me. I know some of it is just a mess. I will say, if you're having a hard time getting a washi roll started and you do want to kind of salvage it, sometimes I just take like either a craft blade or the one-sided pair of scissors, and I cut down a couple layers of the tape, and then you have a thicker section that you can pull off, so you waste a few layers, but it seems to pull off. It's like the outer part dries a little bit more and the inner part is still okay, so that can sometimes salvage a washi roll. So little bonus little tip of the day for that. So paints, there's a lot of things you can do with paints. Oh, here was another one with spray that I was gonna show you, because that was kind of fun. And you can see I've used a couple different colors of spray and really horrible photos of a pregnant belly. But, you know, we're here to have a good laugh and to have a good time. So I'll show you guys. I'm very jealous of the people that nowadays get those perfect, like, maternity photos with the pregnant belly. And they're all, like, subtle and perfect and lovely. That's not my pregnancy photos. I do not have photos like that. People were not doing those fancy photo shoots, and if they were, I didn't know about them. But when I was pregnant, this is my pregnant belly photo. I am in a fluorescent orange bikini in front of a Christmas tree because it was that time of year, and my belly is covered in the worst stretch marks that possibly anyone has ever seen. First pregnancy. Great. Thanks a lot, kid. So yeah, but I look at the background and it's wild and it's crazy and it had lots of color, and you know, you need to have that to support a photo like that, right? when those are your photos, you need to support it. April says, I like the idea of prepping some backgrounds for future pages. This would be a great thing to do now in preparation for load. And then the messy part is done and ready to be used on pages. Yes! Danelle says, my prego photos look just like that. In your fluorescent orange bikini in front of a Christmas tree, that would be an amazing coincidence. And you're like, no, it wasn't orange, it was pink. No, that would be funny. Anyways, but yeah, I used the opportunity to tell that story. Betcha this was made during load. Oh yeah. Yeah. Load 214, Scrapbook Mythbusters. Day 1. You have to use a good photo when you scrapbook. That was the prompt. That was like busting the myth that you have to use good photos. So I pulled out these not good photos and I'm like, nope, you don't. You can still scrapbook that. Okay, so we were talking about paint. Here was another spray one quick before we move into the paint, I guess. So the heart templates, and then I've added more hearts, and it's a very imperfect page because I used very poor paper. It was not the best paper. It was actually the backside of a pattern paper that I didn't like at all, so... and it was white on the back, so I just used it and sprayed it. So there you go. I'm surprised at how flat it is. It turned out fairly flat, even though. So paints. I've used paints in many different ways. Some with the stencils, which we've seen, and some without. Here's a good one that I think we've seen this one along the way. I've laid down the gear and I've painted the purple on, and then while the purple paint was still wet, I've added little textury bits on top of it, which I thought was extra fun. And so they stuck right to the paint. Yeah, Christy says, we didn't do that kind of pregnant photos in my pregnancy years. Yeah, I wanted to picture to show just how big my belly was getting. The crazy thing about that is that I thought that was like 2-3 weeks before he was due. He waited another 2.5 weeks after his due date to finally make an appearance. So I'm like, I was already that big by then. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but like paint is great. And like this is such a fun one because this stencil makes it like that reverse, like it's more like that negative image where some will get you to, some stencils you're kind of getting the effect of the heart, and some of them you're getting the effect of like the negative space. And so it's really interesting how you can get different effects using the stencils. So I think that's fun. That's a good paint one. But what happens is as I start playing with paint, they immediately lead me to other places. And like paints can be acrylics. That wasn't actually acrylic paint, watercolor paint, distress crayons, any of the ones that have a more liquidy kind of stuff. So these are super nice. Like with the acrylics, we used those on the bubble blowing day here recently, the Vicky Bouton bubble blowing day. Any of those acrylics are great because they don't tend to bleed underneath your stencil very much. But if you have a stencil or if you have like watercolor and stuff, you got to be a little careful that it's not going to bleed just everywhere underneath the stencil. Okay. And then there's like things like texture paste. And I love texture paste. This is the one that I tend to like the most. It is Liquitex Flexible Modeling Paste, Gel Medium. It is, I got like doodads on top of here. It is a very thick paste. Have I opened this one? No, this is why this one is not used up yet, because it's not dried out because I haven't opened it yet. But we'll play with that today. I'll just show you some stuff. So here's an example of a time that I used texture paste, and then quickly after spreading my texture paste to create the textural hearts, and you can see how chunky they are and that they're like really imperfect on the surface of them, right? Like they're very tactile and imperfect, which I love. And then I actually sprayed ink over top while it was still, the template was still on top. So then I was able to add the color and the texture all kind of in one go. You look cute, Alice. I did a homemade photo shoot with my first child, but looked like a freaking tank with baby number 2. Pretty much no pics. Hashtag regrets. I totally get that because, yeah, even though I didn't have those really lovely photos, you still kind of want those photos to remember. And even if it's like, oh man, here we go. Here we go. It's still worth remembering, right? So yeah, I think that that's a super fun technique. And I have used different variations of this. Here's another one that I did. Farewell glasses. This was me after I got my LASIK surgery. You notice they're back. But it's funny. It says on January 18th, no year. It's total like crime that I commit all the time with my scrapbooking, not dating things properly. I went for LASIK eye surgery. My eyes are a bit dry, but they're improving. It's strange not wearing glasses. Oh, the vision? Perfect. According to them, and then it wasn't. But anyways, same thing. So I've laid the template down. So I've got like the diamond pattern here. And then I've also sprayed while it was still there. And then I've also done another section with the little dots. And while that one was on, I used like a moussey kind of stuff over top of the texture. So you can really kind of play. Chrissy says, Alice, you make such great pages. Yeah, see, I totally like needed that glasses for this page, right? Didn't have that template then. Sharon says, I used acrylics on my gel plate today with stencils. And Terry says, Alice, rose gold metallics is beautiful, like texture paste. Oh, and those are a mask. Oh yeah, like masking versus stencils. Somebody explained it once. It's good. But I think that, yeah, it's kind of a fun way to kind of do a 2-in-1. Oh yeah, the diamond pattern on this, it's not full diamonds. And you could use that effect yourself, right? Just because it has all of the dots or all of the diamonds doesn't mean you need to fill in all the spaces. It's your template. You get to make the rules. This one I think does have actual gaps in it. It's a very imperfect feeling template. I'm quite attracted to that style actually, I think, because I seem to choose those ones. And I love to create like different heights of texture on my pages in the embossing, or in the texture medium. So some of them are quite flat and some of them are quite chunky. And I will give you an example of that right here. So this is this texture medium, and it is super chunky. I caked this stuff on here. Caked it on here. And I'll see if I can hold it up so that you can actually see just how thick and chunky these are. Like, they're actually like harsh to the touch, if you know what I mean. Like, they fight back. They fight back, and you'll see like very much this layout was done like rule of threes. Like, I've got 1, 2, 3 areas. Had I chose to do this again, I would have tried to make sure that my template was turned a little bit so that this wasn't lined up just slightly off from here. I would have like turned it so that the lines of the circles kind of run in different directions, more like the effect they have down here. And this one too, like if it was turned just a little bit, it would have actually been a slightly nicer effect. So let's see what I mean here. Let's grab a template. Where's the small dot one? I have that handy. No, I don't. Oh, sure I do. Okay. So here's a small dot template. This one is a Donna Downey Studios. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one I've used here. So when it has certain lines, like they're lined up kind of in a grid, but it's like a interspersed, right? So this line is offset with this next line, right? They're offset grid lines. So instead of just being like perfectly lined up. Did that make any sense? So instead of all the dots being perfect like this in perfect rows, it is a so those give you different effects, if that. So this, where they're all perfectly lined up, because you can imagine that that looks perfect. And then these ones where the next line is offset. Those are different effects that you can get. So that's why you might want different templates, because they really do have a different feel. But you can see, like this one, I had it straight-ish, but if I had offset it just a little bit more, and here too, it would look just a little bit better, because right now it just looks crooked rather than looking intentional. Sharon says, I love the chunky look. April says, one time on retreat, I stamped the date on the ribbon, and it was an awesome way to date a layout. When I got home, I realized the date was completely wrong and not even the right year. That's hilarious. That seemed like that would be like what I would do. Like, how many people, okay, go back and think, okay, if you're old enough to know this, you know, when those cameras came out that put the date on the picture, how many of you have pictures in your stash from years ago that have all the wrong dates because somebody never set the date properly on the camera? I have something like that, and it's just like, that date doesn't make sense. Like, you look at the pictures and you're like, that is not from then. Like, there is just no way that those humans are not the right age to be that date. April says, hey, I'm human. I get mixed up. The older I get, the more likely it becomes. Okay, so nobody is confessing yet. Come on, like, don't leave me hanging. Alice, you're the only one. Nobody has ever misdated the photos through their camera before. Yeah, so I just think that's kind of fun. The chunkiness, but they don't have to be chunky. So when you're using this texture paste, you totally are in control. So here is another one that I prepped, and here I just did opposite corners, same template, and instead of the thick, dark chunks, I've got a thin, light coating. Chrissy says, right, we didn't even know it would show up on the photo. Dion says, I like the top set of dots. They draw your eye into the page. Yeah, they're a little aiming that way. I think it could have been more effective if things looked a little better. It's good. You know, it's the stuff you learn as you actually create and actually do the things, right? And I never feel bad about that. Like, I don't look at this page and go, oh, I messed up so bad. Like, I look at it, I'm like, wow, I made that? Wow, I did pretty good. I think that's the kind of approach that you need to have when you're looking at your stuff. Like, you can technically pull things and say, that could be better, but there's no sense in looking at this and saying, like, anything is bad. Like, I had a lot of fun making this page, and I didn't have a huge story to tell. It's my husband on the beach. He's wearing shoes, jeans, a t-shirt, a long sleeve shirt, and a giant hat. Like, absolutely no sunscreen. He hates wearing sunscreen. So that was the only story that I really needed to put on there. So I kind of tucked the story down here in amongst the stuff. And if you were on the thing the other day, I showed this because this was like a texture thing. Also on texture day, I showed this page because we actually had pulled it from a tree, like from a palm tree. It was like just a little bit of that natural fiber from the tree. And yeah, and then I've got other things like rocks and wood veneers. Yeah, but these are like little polished rocks. If you're looking for something like that, little polished rocks or little doodads that you don't really find in a lot of places, Emerald Creek Crafts is the place. Let's see if we can get this white balance a little bit better again here. Come on. Yeah, Emerald Creek Crafts is a great place to go for stuff like that. What else do I have to show you? Showed you that. Okay, and this one here. So I had like a blast just mucking paint onto my background here. And then I used template to add more texture. And then I added different texture. So there is nothing that says that you can only use one kind of texture product at one time. You can like muck them all together, right? You saw like texture and spray, but there's lots of other things that you can do. So I've got like gold nouveau mousse on here, and I've got like lots of stuff, but I love the overall effect, right? I wanted like the netting. I've got like the mermaid stuff. Yeah, it was fun. Super fun. Okay, so I said I would actually play with some stuff today, and that is the plan. So I think I'm going to do a card base with this, and I wanted to open this Vicky Boutin texture paste iridescent glitter because it just looks too good to leave it unloved. This is not going to just open. Okay, let's get this open. Such a fun page. Yeah, and I love pages that, you know, help to kind of illustrate the story just by themselves. Okay, there is stuff in the lid, so I'm just gonna see if I can scrape it back into here. Get it all over my hands so that we can have more fun. That's one thing. If you're crafting, keep your stuff handy, right? Okay, that's fun on dark jewel tone paper. This stuff, I have on my desk leftovers from yesterday. I have leftovers from yesterday because I was playing with some of that paper. So here, let's go here for a quick second. And right behind me, this side here, those are 3 cards, and I used some of my bubble paper. So let me go back to this so that we can play here, and I'll show you these cards really quick. So here's a couple of cards. I did a couple different, slightly different versions with different paper, but those were the bubble paper, right, that I had made the other day. And these ones were quite faint. They were like my first iterations, and the other ones turned out a bit darker, but they made like really nice background paper to use on some cards. So that was something I was playing with. So throw those over there, and I'll cut down a card base. And I have some black here too, so let's just check this one. Oh, this one is, I can do a whole front of a card, I think, with that. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 already. Okay, so I got 2 of them to use with some dark, and I have some white prepped here as well. So we can try different things with the same template and see how this looks. Yeah, this came out adorable. Thanks. It really doesn't show the beauty on white or light colored paper. Okay, so we'll show how it's like okay and fine, and then we'll play and go with the darker. Okay, so I'm gonna try to put this kind of close to in the center, I think, and then I'll probably do something that's like a center focus on here. And I always use, some people use credit cards and stuff. I wish I didn't find the bubbles so gross. I like how it turned out, says Sheila. I know, it was pretty horrible. It was pretty horrible. So I get it. I 100% get it. It was pretty horrible. Okay, is there going to be an area where I can stick this? Not very good, because I'm just going to stick a couple. Oh, they're not going to stick to this surface, are they? Nope. That is a problem, isn't it? When this thing is too big and the paper's going to move, you can tape down your template, but if you don't tape the paper down underneath it, that's going to be a problem. I could mask all the way around it, but that sounds like too much work. Okay, I'm going to just try this and see if I can get it to stick long enough. It's not like it has to stick forever, right? It's just to stick for a little while. Okay, I think that'll work. Then I'm gonna scoop some, ooh, it's very thick. It's not what I thought. Somehow I thought it was gonna feel different. It's kind of weird. So it's kind of like that magic, what was this stuff called? Does anybody remember better than I do? Magic material, I don't know. I have a bottle of it. It's just loose and it doesn't have the the gluey stuff that this has. So this is like that material, but mixed into something, so it has the adhesive-y kind of glue already built in. Okay. I think I probably could have done that without even worrying about sticking it down. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so pretty. Guys, I can't wait to show you these. I will show you on Monday how pretty they are going to be. But I can already tell looking at this one, oh, it's going to be nice. Okay, so I'm going to have to set these somewhere so that I don't have stuff, so I don't wreck them. Take a little bit of that and go. We'll take the next one. I think I can probably get away with not even doing that, sticking them down. Okay. And here we go. I'll do the same one. Wipe the edges. There we go. What is the paste called again? This is Vicky Bouton Texture Paste Iridescent Glitter. So, yeah, and it has this fun stuff in it. Oh, I'm so glad you said to do this on a darker color. We saw that when we were playing with the Nuvo drops, is how much things looked different when you did them on the different colors, right? We really saw that there. And this was a new thing for me to play with. Okay, so that looks good. Pull that up. Oh, yes. Yes. So pretty. Okay. And since we're at it right now, I'll do one in the black as well. Okay. Because why not get as much out of it as I can? I love iridescent. Yes, thank you. Awesome. It's a, yeah, Vicky Bouton. And let's see. I don't know if I had that last one lined up perfectly in the center, actually. And I think this template is just barely big enough to fit this card front. Is that in the center? Maybe a little more this way. I think my last one wasn't perfectly centered. But anyways, I'll smush some more on. And then we'll play with another medium. Oh, oh, I'm so glad you said this, Jill. And for everybody that's like, feels like, oh, my scrapbook room is never cleaned up enough and I never have things all put away. You saw how easy it was for me to just grab those other colors because I had just worked with them. And the glasses would look cool, like, oh, they would. I think for something like this, because these chunks in here are rather large, you need to make sure that your whatever you're using is actually large enough to let the larger pieces and the stuff kind of shine and have a moment. I'm not sure if the glasses are too fine for that. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's get this. That'll have to be washed. Oh, and that really makes the color stand out in it, right? Like, oh, so pretty. Lauren says, I love the way that looks. I'm pretty sure I have some of that in my stash. I will need to dig it out. Yeah, it's like putting soft butter on toast. Yeah, it spreads on like super easy. Okay. I will let all of those dry up here. And I do wash my templates, but I usually wash them at the sink, but I think I'll have to wipe this one down because it actually has little chunks of this plasticky stuff in it. So. See if I can give it a cursory wipe to get rid of some of this stuff. Yeah, beautiful. It turned out so good, especially like on the darker colors like that. The white one will look good, but it'll be like subtle, right? Okay, I'm gonna just set that aside. That's gonna have to get washed. But I got the worst of it off of there. There. Super fun. It's looking, yeah, a little galaxy kind of esque in the shape of it. So. Okay, and I have I think we're going to take this one here. And this one actually has like the vines, and then it has words on the side. Laugh as much as you breathe, it says. So I thought maybe we could put this one onto a card. Create some of these little leaves, and then do this with the texture paste, and then also do like some color over top of the texture paste, right? Do some color over top of the texture. Okay. Have a quick sip. Now, do I want the leaves to be completely on the template, on the paper, or off? So this would be completely on. I think the ends definitely have to be completely on the paper, but do I want them running off the side, or do I want them to not be? I think for convenience sake, if I want both sides to kind of look to like they match, I'll make this one slightly run off the edge, and that one there will slightly run off the edge. This one is a Crafter's Workshop template, by the way, for anybody that might want to know. There's a little area right there that needed to be covered because part of the words were there. So then I'll take my, opening the new jar. Did I wash this thing good enough? No. I did a bad job washing this. Okay. Let's clean my little spatula off. You can keep a 12 by 12 iris handy with water to throw the stencils in until you can get to the sink to wash them, or a smaller container if you aren't using large stencils. Ooh, that's a good thing. I usually just toss them in my sink. It's just we're on camera and that would be kind of inconvenient right now. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one, then we'll wrap it up for today. I just want to stay and hang out. So if you guys like hanging out, scrapbooking with me, tomorrow is my Scrapbook Live event. So I guess I'm not taking the whole weekend off, right? Because tomorrow is Scrapbook Live. So I go on camera for 2 hours for Scrapbook Live usually, and we scrapbook. I use Zoom, so you have to go and get on my email list. If you are not on my email list, this is how you get the invite. Go to scraphappy.org/subscribe. Be on my email list. If you've already signed up, thank you. And if you're subscribed to that, but you're not subscribed to my channel, come on, give a girl a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. I love it. Thanks. So here we go. So here's this paste. And it is quite thick, right? It's quite thick. And creamy. Oh, it is so creamy. It is so nice. Okay, so I'm just gonna start smearing it on. And with the texture, however you paint it, like you can kind of create texture on top. So let's do like a little bonusy kind of thing here and talk about how we can create texture with the texture. So these leaves, I want them to really have some texture to them. So you can see, like I can make it really smooth and smooth them out, right? And make it super smooth, or I cannot. And you can use other things to create texture on here too. So you could even take another template and do another texture layer over top. So this is gonna look a little strange, but you know, I could add dotted texture over top. And like with these dots is not super easy. I can show you texture over top of, you can layer templates anyways and create them. Like with this one, it's going to be harder to create that. And this isn't the greatest one to do that with, but something with texture that's on my desk. I've got to have something here. Something with a cool texture. Yeah, Kathy, awesome. Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of the pastry. It's thicker, I think, maybe than that. Yeah, you can like literally create stuff like texture with anything, but the texture that you leave on the top, whatever stays on the top when you remove this, that texture will remain behind, right? So it makes it really cool, and you can create different effects. So lots of times I like to really just muck it and gum it so that it's not just a super flat texture. Because if you're going to use texture paste, don't you want to, you know, really create some texture? So that would look just beautiful by itself, right? Or I'm going to just set this on the side. Or we can take a paper. Just wipe that really quick off of there. If you don't have one of these mats, craft mat, oh my gosh, get a craft mat. They're the best for just keeping your space tidy and clean. Okay, so let's line this up again. Okay, that looks good. And this one will do a bonus thing. Just spread your, kind of feels like icing. Like it really does have that smooth texture of icing. And then we're gonna add a little bit of color. Let's just use some of these. Haven't done this with distress crayons. I often use just like some mist, but let's try with some distress crayon and add a little color. Water. Oh yeah, it makes it a lot easier, I think, when you have the mists, getting the color on top. So, I'm not loving this. It's looking awfully subtle. Oh, here, let me move that out of the way here. The glass mats are great too. but these ones are easier to travel with. That's for sure. So give myself a little more color, and I'll just spray that really quick. Oh, it's better with more water. That's fun. Guys, we're like making this up as we go. Because normally I do it with mist. I'll maybe pull out a mist and we'll do one more. Because I'm kind of like just having so much fun playing and I don't want to stop. Okay, so I've kind of covered lots of the area here and created a fun bit of color. Let's pull that up. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Look at how good that looks. Oh. Look at how cute that is. Sharon says, I don't like getting my glass mat dirty. That's hilarious. Okay. That was fun. That was super fun. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's pull this off of here. And I'm not even going to bother cleaning the template because I'm not worried that that green might get into my next layer at all. I'm going to go grab a green mist because I didn't bring any mists over here. Totally should have missed the boat with that one, didn't I? But let's line up our next one. And so you guys have literally seen how I learn how to use stuff by playing, just by exactly this. It's like, oh, well, that worked good. Oh, maybe I need to try something else. Okay, this is not a box. I'm gonna have some overspray likely here. This might just happen, and I'll get to clean it up as soon as we finish our live stream. So I'm just gonna spread this in here. I will have some of this green that's on the template transferring in here. So I should have actually picked up enough of the color so I don't have to contaminate the rest of my container. I don't know if you guys are like that, but if somebody gets peanut butter into the jam or they get breadcrumbs on the butter, oh, I really don't like that. Let me know. Is that like a mom pet peeve of yours too? Or a husband pet peeve? Like, as a mom, it's like, oh, why do the kids not understand? My kids are actually trained. If you need to take more than one scoop, you just get a new piece. Get a new knife, get a new spoon, whatever you're scooping with, get a new one, because I don't want whatever you're using to contaminate my container. Okay, so I've created kind of a somewhat textury surface on here, and I am going to spray this, but first I'm going to close this and I think that should be okay. And hopefully these will actually spray because I didn't test them. Sure. Today decided to agree with me. Blob. That's a lot. Okay, normally I wouldn't blob them off, but I thought that was a really blobby area. So let's see how this turned out. Right? Should we see? Jelly in the peanut butter is a no. I agree. And it's funny because I trained my kids, they are almost never the perpetrators around here. My husband. Guys, this is so gorgeous. If I can pick it up here, look at this. Just look. Is that not beautiful? Seriously, I'm dying right now. This is so pretty. I'm gonna make like however many papers I have and like cut more of these because it is so pretty. April says, that's the part of creating that I call the what if, and it has taken me so many fun places. Yeah, super pretty. So I like the way you soften the sprays with the towel. Yeah, it was mostly just fun. Happy accidents, right? Like, that's a total exploration. Happy accidents. Okay. Well, how is it different to spray and color the paste before you put it through the stencil versus spraying it after? So sometimes, depending on how thick and chunky your paste is when it dries, your stencil may not sit down flat back onto your paper. So you can definitely line it back up and spray it again. Sometimes. Sometimes. It just depends on like, yeah, whether or not it will actually line back up, because that can be a problem. I am like so in love with this that it was just the best little accident I've had on here maybe this this week. So put that up there so that it can dry. And we made some lovely creations today. I think I'm going to continue to muck around and play with this, but I definitely have to clean up a few things. So I'm going to bring this back up. Thank you. I just saw hearts, or the thumbs up. I call them hearts all the time. I saw the thumbs up coming in, so thank you so much. I hope that today was an inspiration for you to play with your stencils, explore, and just like really muck around with things. If you have them, you know, they can be not messy. You can literally use them with pens, markers, chalks are super fun, like messing in there. You can go with your inks, you can do embossing, you can use your sprays and mists, paints, acrylics, watercolor, distressed crayons, using the texture mediums, different kinds. There are so many different kinds of texture mediums now. So fun. And then the combinations of things, right? You saw, like here we're using the medium with the mist. We use the medium with the distressed crayon. So you can do lots of different things to get different effects. Chrissy says, I think spraying can give you a better chance to have a more random look to the color. Oh yeah, you don't really know what you get when you spray, right? Like, it's just like, is this one gonna spray perfect, or is this gonna go all in one spot? And sometimes they do both. But I love the effect that you get because it's so wide and varying, right? This one template doesn't just look like one thing anymore. It looks like multiple different things. And I love that. So thank you so much for joining me for this series. Don't forget to join me for the load, or not the load. Yeah, we have that coming up too. I hope you join me for that too, actually. Registration will be opening hopefully over this weekend. Gotta talk with the tech guy, make sure he's got his stuff all sorted out. But if you're not subscribed to my email list, that's there. If you're not subscribed to my channel, you can go and do that. Leave me that coveted thumbs up. And if you hit the notification bell, ring the bell, and that will be a good way to make sure that you don't miss out next week, because I do have a few tricks up my sleeve for next week, and I'm really excited to show you that. April says, you can train my child, but not my husband. Yep. I feel you there. Oh, she says she's allergic to jam. That would be totally not cool. Oh, yeah. That is heartbreaking. What is it in jam that makes it bad? Like fruit, sugar, it's all the good stuff in jam. Thank you so much for joining me for today's session, and hopefully you'll catch next week. I will be back same time, same place. We're gonna be here on YouTube, like I said, every weekday in April. Then after that, we're starting load, and we're being inspired by the Beatles. It is our Abbey load, and it should be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, I'll see you hopefully Scrapbook Live tomorrow. I'll be using a kit from, oh, I didn't tell you this. This is like, exciting news. I'll be using a kit from Mind the Scrap, and we're going to be drawing I think it's an embellishment prize pack or an embellishment kit for Mind the Scrap. So there will be a draw in the Scrapbook Live session. So join me for that. It's super fun. It's tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So awesome. Talk to you guys soon, and hopefully I will see you again. Joy says, I hope to join you tomorrow. Yeah, it's super fun. And if you missed, the other day we had our Scrap Smarter session with Sandy. So genius. It was so genius. She stamped out a scene. So gorgeous. She made my masking look like a major beginner. I'm okay with that because I feel that I am. But the Scrap Smarter session is available on the site. Just hop over to scraphappy.org and look at Scrap Smarter, and the replay is available through there. April, what time is tomorrow's Zoom? 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, super fun. So many good things. Okay, talk to you later, guys. Bye.